Hey, Scott Schrader here with USC and On 3, and I don't typically do these videos after a USC football game. I typically don't do a whole lot of videos on the USC football team specifically, but this was one of those games to where you could sense that fan interest was not exceptionally high, and USC had so many guys that weren't playing in this football game that were a big part of the team during the regular season. A couple more here today. Caleb Williams obviously was not playing. He's preparing for the NFL. You had Kalen Bullock doing the same thing. You had Brendan Rice, and you had several guys on defense that weren't going to be playing in the secondary, and so it was a really big challenge for USC. And Miller Moss was getting the start, and this is after a season where we expected to see a lot of him in kind of relief duty for Caleb Williams, but USC had such an unfortunately bad season that Miller really didn't play. So today was kind of the first time to where USC fans got a really good look at Miller Moss, where Miller had prepared with the first team for a significant number of days, weeks. And now you kind of have a good idea of how good Miller Moss can be. He threw for 6 touchdown passes. The previous record for touchdowns was 4. So he's now got the record at 6 touchdowns. He broke some USC records. Today you had Taj Washington hitting the 1,000 receiving yards plateau. And it was just a lot happened today. And I think that in general, I think a lot of people were expecting USC to maybe lose 48-28 instead of win 42-28. And again, the defense wasn't perfect, but my goodness, this was Brian Odom and Sean Nua. The defense played well, all things considered. They gave up 28 points, so you can't say the defense played spectacular, but the defense made a lot of stops, and USC was scoring kind of fast. I mean, it wasn't a couple of plays here and there, but USC was scoring fast because Miller Moss threw for nearly 400 yards, 6 touchdowns. You had kind of a breakout game for Jacoby Lane. You had Deuce Robinson catching a 44-yard touchdown grab. Taj Washington had just under 100 yards receiving today at 99 yards. And it was just a game that, as it went on, you were thinking, man, what is USC going to do at quarterback here going forward? I mean, Will Howard, is he going to be coming in? Where are we going with this? Could this change who Riley brings in at quarterback from the transfer portal? And it could. We don't know. But this game, when it was winding down, it was about a minute left. From a minute left until it hit 0, and the game was over at 42-28. It just... In watching the players, is when I first really understood how meaningful this win was. You can't fake the emotion that these guys were showing, and there were coaches that were very emotional too. In part because a couple of their coaches, the couple of guys they worked with, will not be on staff next year. You have Brian Odom. This was his last game as a coach at USC this year, and he won't be back next year. So. He's undefeated as a defensive coordinator. Beat Oregon a couple of years ago, and now he managed to beat Louisville. And Brian Odom, I just want to say this, Brian Odom is like one of the most amazing people that you will ever meet, and he is one hell of an awesome football coach. I don't know what the toll it's going to take on some guys after this season with USC's defensive struggles, on what the impact that's going to be on some of these coaches short term. But Brian Odom is an exceptionally good football coach, a great person. Players respect him. It's one thing to like your coach. They respect Brian Odom greatly, and so does anybody who knows him. So, that's part of the game that's going to get lost here, is that this was kind of a big deal, for somebody like Brian Odom as well to leave after a victory like this. Sean Nua was just ecstatic. And there was a little comment from Lincoln Riley on the boost that this gives the USC football program this offseason. Let's just face it, they lose this game 42-28. People are going to be viewing USC a lot differently than they do after this Holiday Bowl victory. It's amazing how you can have it. Like, I was watching Virginia Tech the other night, and they had a 6-6 season, but they won their bowl game. It's amazing what that can do for you as a football program. I mean, I don't know what Virginia Tech's going to do next year and what kind of season they're going to have. But it is very important for the offseason with recruiting. It's just a perception that guys have that you're trying to lure to your program, having your football program. And so, I think the fact that Miller Moss came in there and dropped 6 touchdowns and nearly 400 yards passing, you're looking, guys look at that like, okay, Lincoln Riley's offense. Maybe there were some times this past season to where maybe it stalled and it looked a little stale and there wasn't really a flow to the offense. There was in this game, and the rushing game wasn't even there. But there was another, and Sean Cody kind of reminded Mark and I when we were in the elevator with him here about 40 minutes ago, and that was Elijah Page. And, if you don't think that that's going to be a big deal for USC to have a left tackle like him the next couple of years and sprinkle in some of the other talented guys that Riley and staff have recruited, I think you're going to have a really good offensive line. So it was the Holiday Bowl. It was a disappointing year for USC fans, but a night like tonight it catapults you into the off season. There are still some recruiting visit weekends that are going to be happening in January. I'll be at the All-American game tomorrow. I'm supposed to fly out tomorrow afternoon to Orlando for the All-American game. Tomorrow's media day. The guys fly in. We'll be talking to them. I'll go to a day of practice, and then I'll head to San Antonio, probably for a couple of days as well. And then official visits will be happening at USC probably after the 4th of January. I think school starts back up at USC then. So. Anyway, this was just one of those games to where, on top of everything else, it had been a long time since USC won a bowl game. It had been the Rose Bowl in 2017 Rose Bowl. Really, that's a long time to not win a bowl game. USC didn't qualify for bowl games a couple of times, so that's why they didn't play in any and didn't win any. But it's not been a great stretch for USC, for a number of years. So now people are questioning Lincoln Riley did he forget how to coach football? I mean, you're talking about a guy that took teams to the playoffs 4 times. I've heard people talk about, you can't, it was easy for Riley because the culture was already present at Oklahoma. Well, I mean, when I hear commentary like that, that's people that don't know fuck all. Because the culture that was changed at USC was very present last year. And the fact these guys were able to come together for this game with a limited roster and play the way they did, I mean, come on, if that doesn't speak volumes for the program. The big problem that USC had last year was its defensive coordinator. And what comes with all those problems with having Alex Grinch last year and the defense, I don't even know what the final ranking was, 120? We'll use that number. Maybe it was 119. So then you start focusing on all the other issues. By the time USC played UCLA in the final game of the regular season, that team was toast. It had been so many weeks of just not being able to score enough points to where at some point the dam breaks. So they had a break. They prepared for this bowl game. Zachariah Branch after the game was talking about that they worked their asses off to prepare for this bowl game. So that's a good sign that these guys cared as much as they did, and they were able to go out. This severe underdog. Nobody thought USC was going to win this game. I'll guarantee you Louisville thought they were going to come in and just roll over USC. People watch USC play this year. I mean, the defense, why wouldn't you think that you were just going to be able to just roll over USC? Because basically it happened every week. So, a lot of defensive stops tonight compared to most. And look, the bar is going to be raised, but right now the bar was really, really low. So they kind of raised it a little bit for this bowl game, and going forward, they're going to add some more guys on defense. I think already USC fans have seen through the transfer portal, they have upgraded their roster so far in the first few weeks of the transfer portal, and there will be more. And guys that are playing their bowl games right now, there's going to be guys entering the portal after they play their bowl games, and then we go into the spring as well. Now, granted, it's ideal for these guys to come in now so they can practice in the spring. But if they don't, you got Barry Alexander situations where you have guys, you don't know when they're going to enter the transfer portal. And I've been told USC's got a few tricks up its sleeve still. So, whatever that's going to mean, I think it means something really good. And I think that there's a lot to look forward to right now. And that's kind of the message here is that despite everything that happened this season, which was ultra disappointing for USC fans, a night like tonight is something that kind of gives hope again for a fan base that really didn't have much. So anyway, just tickled beyond belief for Miller Moss. Anybody that knows Miller Moss, if you ask anybody that knows him, they will tell you that they were rooting for Miller Moss over everything else tonight. And that includes me. There's a lot of guys on the USC football team who are obviously rooting for him, but there's just something about this opportunity Miller had tonight to come in and be the starting quarterback, and then he delivers 42 points of offense with a lot of people doubting that he had the ability to do it. I just think overall it was one hell of an ending, all things considered, to what was a very disappointing season. So anyway, we'll see you guys all. I'll be in Orlando. We'll try and do some videos every day, every other day. I don't know. I just throw the phone down and I start talking like tonight. I had nothing planned. So if you're still listening, thank you. Good night.